Hello guys, in this video, we'll look at loops in the Python programming language. In Python, loops are used to repeat a block of code multiple times. Python supports two types of loops, which are the while loop and then the for loop. So first of all, let's look at what the while loop is used for. The while loop repeats a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. So let's look at an example. So I'll define a variable, let's say count, and I'll initialize it to 0. And then in order to define a while loop or a while statement, we write the while keyword, and then we write our condition or our test condition. So I'll say while count is less than, let's say 5, then with colon, and then in the indented block, I'll put in my piece of code or my logic. So I'll just say print, I'll put an F string here, the count is, then I'll put the count here, and then I have to put an update statement to my while loop. Other than that, the while loop will continue to execute as long as the condition is what? True. So I'll say count plus equal to 1. So over here, I'm just updating my count variable. So anytime whenever the condition is true, it goes and then it will increment the value of count to what? The next item by 1. So now whenever it goes through the first time, it will increment it to 1, goes through the second time into 2, in that order until this condition statement here is what? False. So when I go ahead to my terminal and run my file using the Python command, so I'll just say Python, then the name of my file is main.py, and I press enter. You see that we get count is 0, count is 1, count is 2, count is 3, and count is 4. And then the loops what? Terminates, because now the condition is what? False. So when the condition goes again, you see that no, count is now less than what? Is now equal to 5, and which is false, it will what? Terminate. So this update statement is what? Very important. So anytime we write while statement or a while loop, we have to put in a block of code there that will make the loop terminate. Other than that, it will continue running on and on and on. Another way to terminate this loop is what? I can put a break keyword over here. So I can say break keyword over here, and you know what this will do. It will break out of the loop once it is false. So it goes through where count is what? 0, and then it encounters this break keyword, and then it will break. Another keyword we can put here is what? Continue. But continue is the exact opposite of what? The break keyword. So when I put continue here, it will do something else. So over here, I can put an if statement here or something. So I can say if, let's say, count is equal to let's say 3, then I can just say continue here and see. So let's go, and then I'll come out of this block and say what? Count plus or equal to 1. So this plus or equal to 1 is the same as count is equal to count plus 1. So it's the same thing. So I can just say plus or equal to what? 1. And you will see this. If I want to subtract, I'll use what? Minus or equal to. So you should take note of that. When I go to my terminal and run my code, let's see. So you see that I'm getting what? An infinite loop here. So that is it of what? The continue statement. So like I said earlier, we can put what? If statements in this loop, we can nest if statements in this while loop as well. So that's the function of the while loop. It's used to execute a block of code as far as the test condition is what? True. So when the test condition is what? False, our while loop will not execute. So first of all, so let me try this with you. So since I've removed the update statement over here, when I go ahead and run my file, you see that count is 1, count is 0, count is 0, count is 0, and then it continues to run until I terminate it myself. So you have to make sure that you put a statement in the while loop in order to terminate it. It might not be break, it might not be an update statement, it can be something else. So that is it. So I'll go ahead and say count plus equal to 1. So when I change the count to, let's say, 10 over here, which will make our condition here false, let's see what will happen. You see that nothing is printed in the what terminal over here because the condition is false, and then for that matter, whatever we put in the while statement or in the while loop will not be executed. So that's it on the while loop. The next type of loop in Python we'll look at is the for loop. The for loop iterates over a sequence like a list, a tuple, a dictionary, or a range, and execute a block of code for each element in the sequence. So let's look at an example. So first of all, let's look at how we can use the for keyword or the for loop to iterate through a range. So I'll say for I in range. So this range is a function from Python. So we can pass in some arguments here. We can put the start, the stop, and then the step arguments inside. So first of all, I'll just put, let's say, 10 over here, and then colon, and then over here I'll just say print. I'll just put an F string here and say iteration number. Then I'll just put I over here and save. Now when I go to my terminal and run my file, you see that we get from iteration number 0 to what? Iteration number what? 9. So the way the range function works is that whenever we pass in only one value, it's the start it will start from 0 to the number we've passed through minus 1. So let's say any number, let that number to, I'll just put a comment over here. So let's say that number to be n minus what? 1. So from that from 0 to that number minus 1. So if we pass in only one argument over here, so when I put in, let's say, 1 over here, so when I pass in 1 over here, which is these two arguments over here, it will start from 1 to the stop number, or to the stop number minus 1. So when I go ahead and run my file, you see that it now starts from what? 1 to what? 9. It now starts from 1 to 9. So the last number is always what? Minus 1. And the third argument we can pass here is the step. So the number of steps or increments. So it will start from 1 and move to 3 and then move to 5 in that order. So let's see. So I'll go ahead and run my file. So you see we have 1, then 3, 5, 7, and then 9. So this is how the range function works in Python, and it can be used to generate some random numbers or something, which we can even store in a list or something. So that is the range function. So in order to write a for loop, we write a for keyword and then we put our condition there. So this is one way we can use the for loop. Now mostly you will be using the for loop with what? Sequences like a list, a tuple, or a dictionary. So let's look at some examples. So I'll comment this one out. So first of all, I'll define a list of fruits. So I'll just say fruits. I'll say apple. I'll say banana. Then I'll put a mango here. And I think it's okay. I'll just add one again. I think this one is okay. So in order to loop through this list or iterate through this list and then print the individual elements in the list, I'll say for, then I'll put in a placeholder for them. So since they are fruits, I'll put a fruit for individual fruit. Then I'll use the in keyword in the fruits list. Then I'll put colon. Then I'll just say print. I'll put a string here. I like. Then I'll put the fruit there and save. So what this code is doing is that what we are using this fruit, we are using the for keyword, and then this fruit variable over here, it can be anything. So you can write anything. Maybe you can put maybe element or something, or let's say item or something. It's okay, it's up to you. But since this is a list of fruits, I'm just using this fruit variable here to indicate what an individual fruit in the fruits list, and then I'm looping through it and then printing out this statement. So when I go to my terminal and run my file, you see that it loops through all the elements in the fruits list and say I like apple, I like banana, and so on. So this is how we can use the for keyword or the for loop to iterate through what a list. Now, in case you want to, let's say, get the index of each of the elements in the list. So you know that in the list, the first element is having an index of 0 in that order. You can use the enumerate function. So I can say enumerate, and then I'll pass in the fruit list, and then and save, and then I'll go ahead. I can go ahead and then let's say get the index. So I'll just say index and then the fruit, and then I'll say um the index. I'll comment this one out and say print the index is I'll put index here, and the fruit is, then I'll put the fruit there and save. Now go to my terminal and run my file. So you see the index is 0 and the fruit is apple, the index is 1 and the fruit is what? Banana. So in case you want to get the index of each of the elements in the list, we can use the enumerate what function from Python. And in this index we can this enumerate function can take in a second argument, which can be the default or the starter. So I can say maybe you should start from index of 10, and when I go ahead, clear my terminal and run my file, so you see that it starts from index of what? 10, and then in that order the next one is 11, 12, and then 13. But in most cases you are not going to use it this way. You rely on the default index from the list. So this is how we can get the index and then the individual elements in a list. So the next sequence on which we can use a for loop is the tuple. So let's look at an example. So I'll go ahead and comment this out, and then I'll declare a tuple of colors. So I'll just say colors and say red. I'll say green, and then I'll say blue. Now, one thing I would like to note you to note is that in these examples that I'm showing you, I'm just iterating through these sequences and then printing something to the terminal. You can do anything to the loop. Maybe you can change the casing, you can remove an element or something. You can even put an if statement something inside the for loop and then perform some simple logics in it. So you should take note of that. So in this tuple of colors, I'll say for, then I'll put a placeholder. So mind you, this can be an item or an element or something, but since this is a tuple of colors, I'll use the color placeholder, and you'll see this being used in a lot of codes. So I'll say for color in colors, then colon. So I'll just say print I'll, so over here I'll do something simple. I'll say my favorite color is, then I'll say color dot upper. So I'll just change them to what? Uppercase, so that it will have a different, just not printing things to the terminal like that. So what it will do is it will print all these colors in the tuple to what? Uppercase. I know it's not the best thing in the world, but just to give us a little bit of flavor. So I'll run my code, and you see that my favorite color is red, and all of them are being printed in what? Uppercase. So that's it, or on tuples, how we can loop through what? A tuple. Now finally, let's look at the dictionary sequence. So I'll go ahead and then comment this out and then write a simple dictionary. So I'll just say student. I'll assign it key value pairs. So I'll say name. I'll put Bob here. Then I'll say age. I'll put age of 20. Then let's say grade. I'll say grade of what? A. Yeah, or let me add another one. Let's say hobby. Maybe, oh, okay, let me put friends. I'll put friends here, which will be a list. I'll say the friend is having a friend of Alice, a friend of what? Team, and then save. Let me put comma here to print this one. Yeah, so format this properly. So this is our dictionary. So let's look at how we can loop through dictionary. Now with dictionary, there are three things we can do. So we can loop through only the keys, we can loop through only the values, and then we can loop through both the key value pairs. So let's look at how we can loop through the keys of a dictionary. So I'll say key in, then the name of the dictionary, which is student, then with the dot, I'll say dot keys, that I'll access the keys method. Then I'll just say print key, and then I'll put the key here and save, and I'll go ahead, clear my terminal and run it. So you see that it is looping through the keys and then printing only the keys to the terminal. So this is how we can loop through the keys of what? A dictionary. So this is looping through only the keys by accessing the keys method on the dictionary. So I'll go ahead and let's look at how we can loop through the values as well. So I can say for values, or let me just say for value in student dot values, which is a method. Then I'll just say print value. Let me write that properly, value, and I'll put the value variable here. When I go ahead, clear my terminal and run my file, you see that it prints only the values. So you can see Bob 20A and then this list over here. So this is how we can loop through only the values of what? A dictionary. And finally, we can loop through both the key value pairs. So let's look at that. So I'll comment this out. So I'll say for key comma value. So we are just unpacking the keys and then the values from the dictionary. So I'll say student dot what? Items, the items method available on dictionaries. So I'll just say print an S string here. So I'll put the key, and then I'll just say like this, and then I'll put the value like this. And when I go to my terminal and run my file again, now you see that both the key value pairs are being printed to the terminal. So this is how we can what? Loop through a dictionary using what? The for keyword or the for loop. So that is all for this video on loops in Python, both the while loop and then the for loop. So that's all for this video. Please like and subscribe for more videos and contents like this. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.